nicotine, the primary acting substance in tobacco, the lethal dosage is 40 milligrams. So if you were to directly inject nicotine into your bloodstream, 40 milligrams, or if you were to eat tobacco, it would kill you. So it's a poison. Now, that one's 40 milligrams. The lethal dosage of scopolamine in Datura is 4 milligrams. As one paperclip, cut into 1,000 pieces, only 4 of those pieces is enough to kill you. Now you have to make an extract of it and take it out on this plant. So this plant itself, you'd probably use several leaves or one of the pods. The pods look very similar to the burrs. Now this is a very small pod. Usually the pods are about 4 times that big. It's a globe with little spikes coming off all around it. Inside are seeds that look almost identical to jalapeno seeds or bell pepper seeds. Those seeds are also extremely poisonous. One of those pods would probably be enough to kill you if you were to eat it.
How do you spell the name of it? Yeah.
Scientific genus Datura, species Raitii, D-A-T-U-R-A. Now the common name, which you may have heard, is jimsonweed, or thornapple. It's called that because when the settlers first came to Jamestown, they mistakenly thought this was some kind of green, boiled it and ate the leaves. Now boiling it probably degraded some of those toxic compounds a little bit, so they survived, but they were hallucinating for 3 days, going crazy, just running around. One of the scopolamine compound in here makes you impervious to pain. You cannot feel pain. So you'll hit your head into a wall, you'll jump off stairs, you'll jump off buildings, and you won't even feel it. And you'll really seriously injure yourself. And then if you get a high enough dosage of scopolamine, it is what's called an anticholinergic deliriant. It blocks the acetylcholine receptors in your neurons. It's basically upsetting your nerve impulses, really relaxing you to a super relaxed state and making it so you cannot breathe. It basically paralyzes your lungs and you suffocate. On the other hand, the other chemical, atropine, speeds your heart up. So your heart is speeding up and you're suffocating at the same time. Now, do you think there would be any use for a plant like this?
Yes.
Even though it's that deadly. Obviously, a super medicinal plant. Not something y'all should ever experiment with, though. But it has been used by pharmaceutical companies like in the 40s, in the early 1900s. The atropine was used as an antidote to nerve gas. Scopolamine is still used, maybe not extracted from Datura, but extracted from other plants or artificially synthesized. Scopolamine is used as a patch to alleviate back pain. Because it can go straight through your skin, you can just put a patch on you and it will take the pain away.
Can you spell the name of that plant?
Datura, D-A-T-U-R-A. Atropine was also an anti-asthmatic. So some people would smoke the leaves before they had inhalers. They would smoke the leaves and that would immediately stop the effects of asthma. Again, don't experiment with it because it can kill you.
Nathan?
Yes?
Would we want to put it up somewhere so when the children start walking around after?
Sure, so they don't touch it. Now just touching the plant, obviously you've seen me touching it. Just touching the plant is not going to do you in. Now this is actually, you have versions in the same genus that are very common and very related plants that are common house plants. You have an absolutely beautiful white flower, a white trumpet, huge white trumpet. Brugmansia. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but this is a tree from South America with hanging trumpet flowers. It's growing at the river wall. It has the same compound thing. It's a very close relative. So they won't kill you. I'm going to pull the plant up because I want to show you what the root looks like. Many times throughout the year, if you go digging for roots, without the leaves, without the flowers, it's only impossible to identify. Now, if you also saw something growing like that, would you be tempted to think that's a carrot? Yeah. Now, this plant is going to die in the winter, but there should be a dead stalk laying on the ground still attached to the root. So look for that dead stalk, look to see if there's any seed pods before you ever just dig up a random root and start eating it. That looks a lot like a carrot. I'm going to show you what our wild carrot looks like, and it's totally different than this. Our wild carrot is a really puny thing, and I don't even know if it's really worth your time going up. Also, plants are in different growth stages, whether they're young or old, can look totally different. This is Datura. This is the same plant, but a baby. This one probably sprouted this year. It's got a tiny little root, just tiny little leaves. Same plant though.
Are they all over the place here?
They're extremely common in disturbed areas and riverbeds. I got these from Cibolo Creek riverbed. Actually, all these plants were gathered within 1 mile of my parents' property in Bulverde, Texas, near Cibolo Creek area. And actually, depending on how far south you go, we're right on the edge of a major ecosystem change. We're in the Edwards Plateau in the hill country, But when you go into San Antonio, you're in a totally different ecosystem. The South Texas plains, you're starting to have the Tamaulipan Desert come up in there, and you'll have a totally different range of plants. A lot of them will be relatives, but they'll be different.
These are all over.
These are all from the Edwards Plateau Hill Country. Yeah.
Excuse me?
Uh-huh.
What is considered disturbed area? I'm not from Texas.
Okay. Disturbed areas are places where the soil has been messed up. Landslides, places where they've been bulldozing, construction sites, anything like that where the soil's been disturbed, dug up.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, what's next?
Have you ever hallucinated from any of these plants yourself?
No, I have not. Oh, Mountain Laurel. Mountain Laurel, that's a good one. Another family with a very large number of toxic plants in the family is the pea family. Personally, I always avoid wild peas because wild peas have been responsible for some incidents of starvation where there's chemicals that can inhibit the use of calories. I don't know if you've heard about there was the movie Into the Wild, or the book Into the Wild, about this kid who went to Alaska. One of the reasons they speculated what may have contributed to his death was consuming a wild pea pod that made it so he slowly starved to death over time. So not all toxic plants have immediate effects, which is why you've got to study to make sure you can positively identify them. One of our most poisonous peas is the mountain laurel tree. Mountain laurel tree also has anticholinergic deliriums, very similar to Datura. It's going to block your nerve impulses. The specific one is called cytosine, and the same effect is going to be on your lungs. It's going to suffocate you. The bean pods, they start out green. They're green right now. They're going to turn dark black, and then inside you're going to have these bright red, very hard seeds. Extremely poisonous. Always avoid this, and make sure your kids avoid this plant. Now, just touching the seeds is going to go right in it, such that they have a hard shell. Some people actually use them for beads, but if you were to crush the seed and eat it, then the toxic compounds could be absorbed by your system.
And then you guys hallucinate or what?
Yes, same thing. One bean may contain enough toxin to kill anywhere from 1 to 4, 5, 6 people.
Wow.
And it's hard, so it's not going to be
No.
something...
Actually, livestock will sometimes livestock will accidentally swallow the beans, and the beans will pass through unchanged. They won't poison. But if you chew them up, or if they're crushed just a little bit, that toxin can get in. And the leaves are toxic too. The whole plant's toxic. So
It's not a tree, it's a plant.
it is a tree. A tree or shrub. Smaller ones are about this big, but they can get up to 20, 25 feet tall.
What's the hallucinating effects of the leaves?
Same thing.
Can you tell us one more time that suffocates you and it does something else? Hallucination?
It causes hallucinations, suffocation. And suffocation is by paralyzing your respiratory system. It really depresses the respiratory system. It's like normally you think about breathing. Most people don't think about breathing. You just naturally take your breath. But with these plants, with the anticholinergic deliriums, it causes your respiratory system. You've got to think to breathe. If you stop thinking to breathe, it's really bizarre sounding, but you'll suffocate.
Wow.
Extremely dangerous. But they're not the most poisonous plants we have in Texas.
Are there anecdotes to some of these? Like, if someone accidentally gets some of it?
The immediate thing I would recommend is to induce vomiting immediately to try to get the plant out of your system because it's going to be slowly absorbed. So the quicker you can get it out, the better. But there are antidotes to some of them in hospitals. I don't know of natural antidotes to them. You'd have to really probably concentrate extracts to make them potent enough to work.
And how would you do that?
Making extracts?
No.
Oh, induce vomiting?
How
Just
would
stick your finger down your throat.
Is that
Stick your finger back in the throat, and you'll have a natural reaction to vomit. Yes.
What about on the mountain laurel, the little, just what would turn into a stick on the ground? You know, just like
The entire plant's going to be
the
poisonous.
whole
Yes.
little stem and everything.
Flowers too. It's got those beautiful, sweet-smelling purple flowers.
By the way, the Mountain Laurel is really treasured here in San Antonio, I've noticed.
Yeah, everyone
People-
grows it. It's
an
everywhere. The
expensive
most common
trees.
Probably one of the most common landscape trees, shrubs you're going to find in San Antonio. Our most poisonous plant, I wasn't able to get it today, is introduced, but it actually grows along the riverwalk. It's called, see, I remember the scientific name. I tend to remember scientific names better than common. Ricin is the scientific name, but the plant is castor bean. And the leaves kind of look like a palm shape.
Wait, hold on. Spell it for me.
Castor, C-A-S-T-O-R.
Uh-huh.